Joe, what's up, man? Obvious Shirts. Really cool to have you on. I've been really excited to chat with you and just kind of, hear more about the Obvious Shirts brand. CubCon was, in the last week or so. So I'm sure you were
hmm
pretty busy out there, right, with Obvious Shirts, probably making a ton of sales.
Yeah, CubsCon's great. It's a great weekend. It's a weekend I always look forward to. But it's a grind, man. Like the setup, the teardown. We do everything. I mean, we put that whole thing together in a half of a day and then tear it down in even less time. So, yeah, it went really well. Um, we always try to one up ourselves every year. I don't know if we succeeded, but we always try to improve. And each year our booth has grown a little bit bigger, so that's always nice. And it's just good seeing the familiar faces, the people that come from out of town that you don't see at the ballpark, but they're at CubsCon every year. So I love seeing the people that I haven't seen since CubsCon previous year.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure you probably did one up yourself this year, right, in terms of sales, profits, things like that.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we grow every year. It's nice now. I have help. I have employees, so uh, Devin, who runs the finances and operations, he would be able to give you an exact answer. But yeah, I think we did more sales this year than we did last year, which is always a good thing when you're running a small business.
I was actually on the website earlier. I was looking at, I noticed the story, kind of the background, and how obvious shirts became what it's become today. I was watching the video that you all had, just talking about it, which was really awesome to just learn and see how it all came together. And basically, you were not a huge fan, I guess, of the selection of Cubs shirts at the time. It was 2015. You wore the Jake Arrieta is good at baseball shirt. That caught fire. The rest is kind of history from there. But how did you get the idea to just wear that specific T-shirt? I mean, you already had all these kind of slogans and these like unique phrases in mind.
Yeah, so it was just the culmination of the perfect storm at the perfect time. Um, the history it goes back a little further than I usually tell in the story of the brand. So like I was a pretty competitive ball player growing up, and played travel baseball in the summer like any kid who's serious about playing college baseball. And so we had a tournament at TCU, and it would have been I think Jake's junior year. I think he left after his junior year. And what's cool is like part of this tournament is you get two or 3 hours before your game you get access to the locker room, and TCU has an awesome facility. And I was given number 34's locker, who I didn't know at the time, and I was just like kind of dilly dallying in the locker room and taking my sweet time. And one of the jan I don't know if it was a janitor, one of the guys working the event, like was coming in and cleaning up things in the locker room from the team before we used it. And he's like, number 34, that's a good locker. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, that's our superstar pitcher. So that's when I was first ever introduced to Jake Arrieta, when I was probably 17 years old. And so that name that name kind of escaped me for a while. Went on, played college baseball, uh, got a job out of college, moved to Chicago. Like, still a diehard Cub fan, but when we got Jake in the trade with Pedro Strop, I was like, oh my God, I know that guy. I had that guy. So literally from day one, I was like, that's going to be my dude. I didn't know too much about his pro career. And so I was just like, this is going to be my guy. And sure as shit, he literally became the best pitcher in baseball within like a year and a half of that. So that was kind of the cool factor, number one. Number two, yeah, you're right. Like I had Cub season tickets at the time, and I was in sales. And so when you're like in sales, you get a quota. And so my goal every year was hit my quota as early as possible, because when you hit your quota, you're you're not managed anymore. At least at the company I was at, my boss
Yeah.
didn't really need to see me. I didn't have to always go into the office, so I would literally try to hit my quota as early as possible so I can go to as many Cubs games as possible. And with that being said, like I was kind of like, do I still wear jerseys to games? I don't know. Like, yeah, it's totally fine to wear jerseys, but like I wanted something to wear that was like unique, that I could wear to like all the games. And so when I was thinking about this, Uh, me and my coworkers we had a small team, but we all liked the Cubs. So every morning, uh, before work or at the end of the day before we left, it was always Cubs talk. And Jake was dealing in 2015, and so I came in to the office one day late, and it was the whole floor was pretty quiet, and everybody like just stared at me walking in late. And my manager's like, "Do you have anything to say?" And I was like, "Yeah, Jake Arrieta is good at baseball," and like the whole floor laughed. And my buddy next to me is like, "You should put that on a t-shirt." And I was like, "You're right, I should." He's like, "I can help you do that." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take you up on it." And so I had to make me that shirt because again, I didn't love like back in 2015, all you could buy was like the shirt, like the jerseys. It was like the t-shirt jersey from that was made on a cardboard Gildan shirt. Felt like cardboard when you were wearing it. So I was like, I want something as soft as possible. Buy the most expensive blank royal shirt your guy has, because that tells me it's probably going to be the most comfortable and most durable. And I just want a Jake Arrieta's good at baseball shirt, and I'm going to wear it. Get it to me as soon as you can. I'm going to wear it when I get it into his next start. Got it in, loved it. And like 2 days later, he was starting. I'm like, I'm going. It was against the Brewers, and I think it was like mid-September. It was one of his last regular season starts, and he struck out 11, went all 9 innings, gave up 2 hits, dominated. And when I was at the game, I had bleacher season tickets. And third inning, I went to go get a beer and like got bombarded. Like everybody was like, "Where'd you get that shirt? I need it." And I'm like, "I'll make you one." So I took everybody that asked me. I either like wrote down their name and email or name and phone number in my notes app in my phone, or I took a business card and I followed up with every single one of them. Ordered 50, sold all 50 of them. Ordered 100, sold all 100 of them in like 2 days. Ordered 400 of them, sold 400 of them like in a week. So I was like, okay, I'm onto something. And yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, now you've sold at least over 150,000 or so shirts since then, right? Going back to
Yeah,
2015.
including wholesale, I think we're coming up on 200,000 shirts.
Yeah, it's cool how it's all just come together. So, I mean, could you have ever imagined going back to, I don't know,
No.
2014, 13, how this would be your job now? I mean, it's got to be a pretty cool
Yeah.
job, right?
Yeah, this was never in the plan. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was always an idea guy. Like, if you ask my childhood friends who I still am close with to this day, I was the idea guy and the athlete of the group. Every one of us had our different like quirks, but I've always been an idea guy. So I knew entrepreneurship was the path I eventually wanted to go down. Never in a million years would I have thought it would have been an apparel company or a t-shirt brand. No way.
And I always wondered about the licensing, and I know on the video it said basically MLB was like, "Hey, you can't do this," but then you said, "Hey, hear me out." You told them what was up or what
hmm
you were doing, and they seemed to love it, right? And just like that, you got the licensing.
Yeah, that was wild. I consider myself very lucky, um, because of how everything kind of came together. I had the Jake shirt, which took off and kind of I wouldn't say it put me on the map, but it spread really really fast. It was, if I didn't do anything, it was a one hit wonder for sure. It blew up. It was so much fun to do that. It was just cool to get people asking, people, strangers, people that I played or I went to high school with, a guy that you work with. Can I get a shirt? Like people were reaching out to me from every direction. And my second shirt, I so that was the first shirt. The second shirt I ever made was Kyle Schwarber crushes baseballs, and my whole family's IU. Like I'm the black sheep. I didn't go to IU. Uh, I love IU, but yeah, I wanted to go play baseball in college, and I didn't. I wasn't good enough to get a D1 scholarship to play at IU. I could have walked on, or I could have walked on at IU, but I was like, I want to play day one. I want to play all 4 years. Blah blah blah. So I was like, I'm gonna make this one in red because for IU and Kyle Schwarber. And a guy bought that shirt from New York City and wore it to the Cubs Mets game at City Field, and the camera found it. And I was watching the game live, like when that happened. It was when Cubs games were on NBC Sports Chicago. I was like, "Holy shit!" They just showed my T-shirt. So I ran over to my computer, Googled how do I continue, like how do I allow a shirt to continue selling when out of stock. Figured that out, turned that on, and when I woke up the next day, I sold like 400 shirts, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then a few people picked it up. It was on MLB.com, or yeah, it was on MLB.com front page about the fan wearing shirt with the words on it. And yeah, that later that day, MLB Players Association was like, "Hey, you can't do that." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'll take it down. But before I do that, can you just hear me out? Like, can I send you like 10 ideas that I have that I've been like working on?" And they're like, they were so cool. They're like, "Yeah, send it, but whatever. We're not really bringing on anybody new right now." And I said, "Okay." I sent them like a week later. They're like, "Hey, these are cool. They're clever. We think they're different, and we kind of want that. We've been looking for something different. We think you might be it." And another week later, I had a 3-year contract with MLBPA.
So that's how that works. Okay, cool. I was wondering about that. Like, once you got the licensing, if you, I didn't know you had a contract or how that works. So I guess obviously you just renews every couple years, essentially, right?
Pretty much every 3 years, and that's like I try. I'm a pretty chill dude. I don't like. I try not to let a lot of things bother me, but like people rip me off all the time, and people like even in Cubs Twitter, people are creating shirts like without the proper permission. And the only reason why that gets to me is because how it works with the PAs, you pay a guarantee. You pay a huge chunk up front, and then you have to like hope you earn it in your sales. You earn it back. So yeah, when I see people like it's expensive and it's some years I didn't even cover my guarantee, but I keep it because it allows me to the flexibility to do I can do any player on the 40 man. So I can do I access to 1200 player rights. And yeah, to get access to 1200 player rights, it's not cheap. And so when I see people like knock me off or make a shirt with the player's likeness without them knowing about it, like yeah, that shit gets to me because it's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
money.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Knockoffs are no fun either way, but yeah, it's really cool, and it's obviously it's just cool because I mean the brand, the name says it all. Obvious shirts, they're clever, easy, simple slogans, phrases, and I mean the Cubs are a national brand. I mean, I'm in Virginia. I've gone to Nats games. I wore it obvious. I
Mhm.
think I was wearing I'd rather be at Wrigley, and I got a reaction or someone was like, "Hey, like go Cubs," or they're also wearing a obvious
Hmm.
shirt. So it's cool how I'm sure I know in Chicago, obviously everybody knows who you are, and but it's even nationally. And I don't know what your sales are like in terms of national audience. I mean, I don't know if I'm representing Virginia by myself or not. I'm sure there's other people in Virginia, but and I've been getting my dad a bunch of shirts lately because I was like, why haven't I? I was thinking like a couple years ago when I finally started kind of catching on. And I was like, oh, this is an easy gift. I could just get all these shirts. So, obvious shirts has been great for, just getting gifts or just to check all the different styles and everything. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the brand like you have and for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the goal is to eventually go national, but like I just don't give a shit about
Yeah.
other teams like I do the Cubs. So, I mean, I would say Cubs sales is probably 70% of our revenue, maybe 60% of our revenue. College has been really big for us. Lifestyle, like just we try to get lifestyle stuff every day. I take great naps. Running sucks. I like pizza more than people. Still call it the
Yeah.
Sears Tower. So I try to like that's been easier to like market to people, but we don't. Yeah, like what you said, like when you go to a Nats game and people come up to you, like that was when I decided I wanted to do this, I had to like kind of write a value proposition. And that that like got me thinking, like, how is this going to work long term? And I just thought that people, the whole reason why I made my shirt for me is I wanted people to like laugh at it, or I wanted it to be so stupid that it was funny because Jake obviously was the best pitcher on the planet. By understating that he's good and not great at baseball,
Yeah.
like that's part of the joke. That's how the obvious, like, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, he's good. He's has a 170 ERA and is 13-2 his last 15. So when people wear the shirts and get reactions, I feel like I hope that they like that. They like wearing it because it gets conversation started or it gets people like high-fiving or gives them a thumbs up from across the street on the other side of the sidewalk. Like and it worked, right? So the whole philosophy was I don't even have to market. Like we don't spend any money on marketing. Like our customers are is our marketing because when you wear it out, you and it's not every time, but a lot of times people are like, "Hey, that's funny. Where did you get that?" And that's our like guerrilla marketing. So I haven't grown as much outside of Chicago, I think, as I would have liked because I haven't like put that effort into like thinking of designs for other players on other teams because I really just kind of like the Cubs. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hope we can duplicate this process down the road. That is the plan. So I hope I'm not upsetting people by going in other markets because I think they've associated obvious shirts with Cubs, but you can't make everybody happy. You can't please everybody, and I mean, whatever I do, somebody's gonna have an objection for it. So I'm just gonna try to do me, and that's what I'm that's what I'm doing.
Well, you're being authentic, which is all you can do. And yeah, you have I've seen obviously the Bears. You got some White Sox stuff. There was that the the freeze, right? The stadium freeze of the Yankee
Hmm.
Stadium. So like you kind of branched out a little bit.
Yeah, that was all, and that like all came together really quickly. I'm gonna
Hmm.
put a lot more effort into that in 2024. But yeah, a lot of times when you see certain players or certain teams, certain markets, that's because somebody asked me to do it, and I'm just
I
like,
see.
okay, I'll try. Yeah, I'll do it. Or
That's
they
cool. Yeah.
message me enough where it's like, okay, I'll so you can stop messaging me. I will make your Phillies collection for you. But yeah,
Gotcha.
it'll be more strategic going forward.
How fast did you realize this could be my new full-time job? Were you still working at the other place and then doing the shirts on the side? And then you were like, wait, I can probably let this go now and do this? Or how did that kind of work out for you?
Yeah, good question. Again, the timing of everything, and I considered myself lucky. Like I don't, if I were to decide to do this like today, all from scratch, I would not be able to do it. I just wouldn't because too many things lined up.
Yep.
Um, so 2015 is when I started making the shirts, and like lo and behold, next year the Cubs win it all. So all of 2016, it was a side hustle in all of 2016. I was coming home from work. Yeah, I get home at 5:30, 5:30, and then I went right to fulfillment. And I was living downtown Chicago in a high rise, and I had a storage locker on the third floor. I lived on the 31st floor, so that was miserable. Like coming in, checking the computer, fulfilling orders, going down to the third floor with like a shopping cart, throwing them all in there, coming back up to stuff them in envelopes, taking them back down to send out to receipt or the mail room so that they could go outbound. And right around, I think it was right after, it's when my greatest game shirt came out, is when I was like, okay, this is nuts. And I did the quick math and said if I can kind of keep steady at this rate of orders, I would be able to at least, it will be able to supplement our lifestyle. And I think I could pull this off. Well, I underestimated myself by a shit ton because I quit my job probably a lot earlier than I should have. And uh, there's no greater motivation when your bills are fixed and your orders and your revenue are not. You will work like a dog to make sure you do whatever it takes to put food on the table and pay your bills. So that was, yeah, that's where the motivation came from. My dad was in sales, and he would always say, uh, you want to figure out how to be a good salesman, buy a house you can't afford, buy a car that you can't afford, and you'll figure, and that'll allow you to do everything that you can possible. Like that, that's how you'll find out how hard of a worker you can be, is by getting bills that you can't afford, and you have to make it work. 2017 was pretty, personally for me, it was a miserable year, because I went from a very good paying job in sales, and I was good at sales. So like when you're good at sales and you hit quotas and you hit bonuses, and I was selling software, so it was not, it was very, very easy to bring in large contract deals. I The next year I made 1/4 of what I was making, and I was like depressed because I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like this was such, I ruined my career. Like and then yeah, I just was like, I'm gonna give this 90 days, 150% every single day. I worked the hardest I've ever worked in my life for those 90 days, and luckily it panned out. But yeah, 2017 was a miserable year.
Yeah, I think my first obvious shirt was actually the Sylvie Strong shirt for Mark Silverman when he was,
Cool.
battling cancer a few years ago. And then I know you've, I think David Kaplan when he does his charitable initiatives like
Hmm.
the Unity Alliance Walk or so. I think you've done shirts for that, and obviously you're pretty much like a local celebrity out there with the shirts. People know
Definitely not.
not a celebrity maybe, but I mean, I've heard your name on the radio. They're referencing it. I see obvious shirts. Now, obviously, I'm following a bunch of the
Hmm.
Cubs people on Twitter, but yeah, it looks like it's definitely, it just looks very successful. Obviously, just based on the reception, the reaction, all the shirts you see in the stands. So, yeah, it's awesome. I just love how it's come together, the story behind it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I consider myself very, very lucky and very, very fortunate. It is a dream come true. Uh, yeah, other than playing shortstop for the Chicago Cubs, this is probably the next coolest thing that I could have done with my life. So I'm very, very fortunate.
And then you have, it sounds like you have access or, being able to work alongside or doing a special project for guys like Ryan Sandberg or whatever. Like, that's got
Hmm.
to be cool in itself, too, right?
That's probably the coolest part, is getting to know the guys, um, the Cubs players, alumni, the legends of the team. Like that's the coolest part is working with them, and not because they're famous and popular. I enjoy collaborating with them because like working on creativity, like being creative with somebody else is a really cool. Um, I don't know what the word is. It's a really cool way to interact with somebody is on a creative basis. So like, I always throw out Ian Happ. He's like a really, can I cuss on this?
Sure.
Yeah, he's a really fucking smart dude. Not only is he like really smart, but he's an idea guy too. So collaborating with him was like the first player that I really was like, okay, here's my input. You give me your input. Oh, that's really good. What do you think about this? Oh yeah, we both agree that's awesome. Let's do that. Like that's the best part. And of course, getting to know the guys is great too. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get starstruck or like I don't. That's never been my personality. So I just like think of them as like they're doing something that I wish I could be doing. Um, but what they bring to the table outside of like baseball talent is the coolest part to see, what else they're interested in, what they care about.
So, what do you think about the Cubs offseason so far? It's been quiet. We've been waiting for something to happen. Cody Bellinger is still out there. What's your mood of the Cubs so far as January? It's January 20th right now. Spring training, like I said before, is right around the corner. But what's your mood on this team right now?
So first of all, I'm I'm a Cubs homer, right? Like I try to be as optimistic and I say shit all the time that deep down do I don't really think that or mean that, but I'm trying to project positivity, very big on vibes, very big on universe and karma. So like I'm always trying to project positive. But I feel like every offseason I'm disappointed, just because I know how much money goes through Wrigley Field, and so it's like if I was an owner, I will never be an owner of a baseball team. But if I was, I would 100% take the George Steinbrenner approach and buy as the best players that money can buy if I have the money because I want to win and I'm uber competitive. And so yeah, it's hard for me as a competitive person to be like, yeah, they should have been a finalist on Shohei. They should have already signed Cody Bellinger. Like
Yeah.
I know the baseball savants, the baseball like analytical fan base is gonna tell me why that's stupid or not. No, 160 million for Cody's fine, but if they pay 180, that's a bad deal. It's like I don't give a fuck. I want entertainment on the north side. I want to go to a baseball game and be entertained and see good players play. So yeah, they absolutely have to bring Cody Bellinger back. Not just because of what he can do from a production standpoint, but he's a glue guy. He's like a chemistry like he is this he's the chemistry lab. He is the one kind of common denominator that every player has said we love being his teammate. We follow his lead. He gets us to want to be better. Like they have to sign him. And then yeah, the bullpen is a huge concern for me, and our 1 through 5 is good, but it's not great. And I think you have to have a great 1 through 5 if you want to do anything substantial in the postseason. Like knowing how the Cubs operate, like the Cubs, like Jed's smart. Jed's a very smart guy. Like
Yep.
I am a team Jed guy. I am. I think there's a lot that people. He's made a few mistakes, especially like verbally coming out and saying it's like it's not a rebuild and all that fiasco. Like at the core of it, though, at the end of the day, Jed is very, very smart, and he is going to be a yes man to whatever Tom says because Tom's the owner.
Yep.
And the council move at when it first happened, I was like, like show me the money, bring me Soto, bring me Bellinger back, bring Shohei. Like I was like, this is going to be just the top. This is right before the waterfall spills over. But what the Cubs actually did is like, why do you think Craig Counsell? I'm going to give you my opinion first, but I just want to ask what you think. Like, why do you think they, at the drop of a hat, you know, gave Ross the door and hired Craig Counsell?
So when Craig Counsell when that happened, I was shocked because, I thought, probably Mets, maybe Brewers stay in Milwaukee or go to Cleveland. So when that move came out and then we heard about how he was always excited about the possibility of being with the Cubs, at first I was thinking, oh, they're going to spend all this money to get him. They're not going to just, rest on their laurels. They're going to go out there and sign guys. But the more the offseason dragged on, not to say that I think that the Cubs are trying to emulate the Brewers of being sort of this quote unquote like smaller budget, smaller market type of feel. And Craig Counsell knows how to get the best out of these guys with what he's got to work with. And there's some of that, but I don't think it's just, oh, let's just be the Brewers now. I do kind of feel like seeing what Craig Counsell had done with Milwaukee over the last couple of years, and they're not a big budget team, obviously. Seeing how he's able to manage the guys that he had to work with, I kind of feel like they're looking at it like, okay, he's going to be able to get the best out of what we have on this roster without necessarily having to spend whatever it is to bring in, to add to our team. But so basically, long story short, I don't think they're trying to emulate the Brewers necessarily, but I also think they look at that model and say, okay, we know what he can do over there. We think he can do similar with this specific roster without having to spend whatever exorbitant amount of money. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, exactly that. I think they made him the most expensive manager because they probably looked at what did the Cubs have this year? 83 wins?
Yeah.
I forget. They probably
Some,
looked at it.
yeah.
If we had Craig Counsell, he would have his managerial skills. He does manage the bullpen really well, which I think was Ross's Achilles heel. But
Yeah.
I think that the smart play. This is how the Cubs front office thinks is that
Yeah.
man, if we had Craig Counsell this past season, we would have been an 88, 90 win team.
Yeah.
And that's a 7 player war. And what's the going rate now for a 7 player war a year? 20 million a year? More.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like 25 million. I mean, a 6 player war is 20 million. But like, so yeah, they're not dumb, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, Bellinger's an absolute must. I mean,
Yeah.
there's if they don't sign Bellinger, I'm going to be real shitty about it because I think they sign him 7 years, 182. Like 7 years, 180 is kind of where I would totally be okay. Now, there's probably people that are going to watch this and be like, "You're an idiot." That's fine. I'm not. I don't analyze and study. I don't have time to be like a baseball nerd, numbers guy, stats guy that I once was. Like I used
Yep.
to be that guy. I don't have the time anymore. But yeah, it's like, are you going to let Bellinger leave for $20 million over 7 year period? That is asinine to me. That's stupid. You'll make that back on on jersey sales alone. Nobody bought Bellinger's jersey this year. Why? Because everybody told themselves he was a rental or he was a 1 year and one and gone. So like you commit long term to Bellinger, you'll make $20 million back in jersey sales over the next 2 or 3 seasons alone. So, but from a baseball standpoint, bullpen still huge concern. But who
Yeah.
did we bring in to be our coach? Arguably the best bullpen like manager of a bullpen in baseball. So I don't know. I'm going to still come with optimism, but I could see this if we don't get Bellinger. I could see us being from anywhere from 75 to 85 wins, 85 at the max, but we'll probably finish in the high 70s. And what pisses me off the most is that the Cardinals are down for once in my life. They're down
Yeah.
right now. Like go the Central is up for grabs. The Cardinals aren't being the Cardinals like they normally are. It's like
Yeah.
this win. The Cardinals are not going to suck for a very long time. They have 30 years of history to prove that they're amazing at drafting and developing and being awesome. I mean, they bring up an outfielder every year that's awesome. I don't know where they find these guys, but there's always a new guy and he's always
Creative
awesome.
players. Yeah.
So like the fact that the Cardinals are down, the Brewers are down, the Pirates are the Pirates, and the Reds are, I don't know where the Reds are. I don't know but they can do some damage. But like
Yeah.
this, in my mind, this should be attack mode. This should be spend whatever money you have and go win the Central for the next 4 or 5 years. But we'll see. After we tasted the World Series, it's like we, after you win, that feeling should be so good that you will do whatever it takes to get it back. And I don't feel like we're like behaving that way. I am still going to put trust in Jed, but if he doesn't bring Cody back, I will sit Indian style outside the Cubs office until he gives me a very valid reason why he did not. Like I want to know why.
Have you ever met Jed?
Hmm. Yeah, he's come in the store
What's
a few times.
That's cool. He's bought some shirts?
Yeah, great
That's pretty
guy. I
cool.
like Jed a lot.
Yeah,
I do,
yeah.
and I feel like with any GM, they're at the mercy of their owner. And so
Oh
like
yeah.
I think if Jed was given the keys to the castle and said, spend my money like it's your money, I think Jed would probably operate a little bit differently as, probably any general manager for the Chicago Cubs. But I also understand this is a business too, and sometimes winning is not the one thing that affects the bottom line, and they're running the business based on the bottom line too, just as much as the win column. They can say all the fluff and you know they can come out and say what they want, but like it's a business. They're a business, and they're getting evaluated year over year, and that valuation keeps going up and up and up. So they're succeeding.
Yeah, at CubsCon last week. I mean, I wasn't even there, not even in Chicago, but just seeing the reception of it on Twitter, I think Cody Bellinger's name was probably brought up the most of any non-Cub, right?
Yeah, like I've never seen anything like that. I've never like I mean, it kind of takes balls, especially what Dansby did. What Dansby did was so awesome. Um, like if you're a player, you're not gonna call out your GM. You're not gonna call out your owner. You're not. But and they didn't do that. But like I've never seen a group of players all have the same common denominator, common thread, which is like we will be better with him. He makes us want to be better. He is the glue. So yeah, that was awesome to see the players come out and say that stuff because yeah, that takes balls to do that. Put a little bit of
Yeah.
pressure on the front office. And I was checking out your website and your media. So I know on Twitter it's a the Simpsons character, but like your whole thing is Simpsons theme. So like
Yeah.
what's the background on that? Are you just a super fan or like and not only that, but how do you do that? Is that like can you just like do that yourself or do the Simpsons like give you permit like how does that work?
Yeah, so
Because it's all
that's
I
cool.
love it. I love the whole look
Yeah.
and feel.
That's cool that you checked it out. Yeah, so I used to think I was a super fan, but then I realized like I'm probably not a super fan compared to some people that would definitely be a super fan. It's not like I have memorabilia or anything like that. I just always loved watching it, and I don't even watch the new episodes like I thought I would. I watch the old
Hmm.
ones still, but yeah, it basically started. So the picture I have on Twitter, my Avi or whatever. I came across, I think it's the website, I think it was called, or I think it's called makemeyellow.com, and there's a few different
Hmm.
websites just like that. So it was probably like 2000, I don't know, 14 or 15 or something like that. I came across it and I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I should get like a picture made. So you could just submit like a picture of yourself, and it's like $10 or $20 or whatever. And they gave me that picture, or they made that picture based on the picture I submitted. So I was like, ever since, that's pretty much been my Twitter picture, and I've changed it a few times, but for the most part, it's always just been that. And I'll probably never change it, but yeah. So I always thought it'd be cool to have a website, just to do what I'm doing now, and I never expected to do like the whole like full on Simpsons thing, but I decided like it'd be cool to get a couple more pictures, like graphics created, for like certain thing. Like if you're on my website, you
And the
saw where
font.
like yeah, yeah. So what was cool about it all is that I don't have to worry about any licensing or anything. It was basically like I paid, they made those graphics, and I was like, okay, cool, I can just use this. And I'm like, well, where would I use these except for like on a website or something like that? So I was, and just based on the specific website template that I have, I was able to make it to where the graph you hover the mouse over something and the graphics pop up. So I had a few more created, and it was basically just pictures of myself, and then they
Hmm.
made it from there. And then the
Did you design
font,
your website?
yeah,
Did you
yeah,
build your website?
I found a great template finally. It was taking me forever to figure out what I was looking for and the aesthetic and everything, but I found it's called Impeca, and it's actually really cheap. It's like a one-time fee, and it's got
WordPress?
unbelievable features. Yeah, through WordPress. I was with WordPress initially. I went to Squarespace, and then I decided to go back to WordPress. And
Hmm.
yeah, Impeca's great. I like the way the website can work and all that and function. But um,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
cool.
yeah, and then the font was just defont.com. You can just download all these random fonts. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, I might as well just go all in and just, and then even the colors, I just, on Photoshop, I just did what do you call it? The little, uh, droplet
Dropper. Yeah.
dropper tool. Yeah, to find the specific color. So I was like, I might as
No, it
well
looks
just go all
great.
in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool and creative. Like that was fun to just navigate around.
No, it's cool that you checked it out. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it up.
Oh, and also, uh, obviously around Thanksgiving when he had like that crazy
There we
that
go.
huge sale, I was like I might as well like go
Yeah.
all in and like get, let's see if I can get it in the camera. I don't know if it's gonna, there we go, good enough. um I was like I gotta go all in anyway. I was like, take advantage of
Got
the
mine right
sale.
here.
There you go. I need to get it framed also. I need to get it in a frame or something. But yeah, I was like, I bet you if I spend the most that I can, I'll probably get like, I mean, all the prices were, they all looked really cool. I was like, yeah, any of these would be awesome. But I was like, I might as well see what I can get if it's like
Shoot for
300
the
plus or
stars.
whatever. I think I got like 18 or 19 shirts, and I gave like half to my dad.
Awesome.
Um, as you can see, I've got,
Yep.
this one on. I got the hat. So
Yeah, you're the man.
I've gone all in. Oh, and I gotta say, the quality is fantastic. I usually balk at t-shirts because of
Hmm.
prices, and I'm like, I hate when I wash one. Not, this has not happened, by the way, but with other shirts, I'll wash it and then it'll start to fade. I swear to God, these shirts do not fade. They're great quality. I mean, I do standard shipping. I get them in 3 days or whatever. It's super fast. I'm like, this is fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, man. Because I've spent so much time to get that right, and it took me a long time to get it right. But again, like that is what I wanted to do this different because I was tired of getting shirts in as well, and after a few washes, they start fading or they crack or it just doesn't fit after one wash and dry. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really proud of like the quality because that is what keeps people coming back. If you and I, until this past year, we never raised prices, but we went through four price increases from our blank alone. Our printing prices increased probably close to 8 or 9 times. And I was like just getting killed on margin because yeah, people say a $30 t-shirt, that's a lot for just words on it. It's like you clearly have no clue how running a business and paying people's, employees' salaries and overhead and rent's not cheap in Chicago. Like there are so many variables just to like break even. I had to charge $30 for a basic shirt, but it's not a basic shirt because our fabrics, like we tested 30 different brands, 30 different styles, 30 different cuts. Like the inks, like my printer, like pretty much we use a certain ink, but then we added other properties and chemicals to it, and we whip it in a blender, and we put this like elasticity compound, like so it doesn't crack. Like we
Yep.
really put our time and effort into it. So I appreciate you noticing it, and I hope others notice it too, because like that's of utmost importance. That and customer service is my two biggest things.
Even that other one, I was just wearing it. I think yesterday or two days ago. The scoop, there it is. That was
Hmm.
funny too, because
Yeah,
obviously the commercial. So,
yeah.
did you have to get special licensing for that, or was it just?
No, but like a friend of mine was like an ambassador with Geico or for that
Okay.
commercial, Sarah Spain, and she like did me a
Okay.
solid and just told them, and we donated a bunch of money of those proceeds to charity, and like they just like looked the other way.
Gotcha. Yeah. I got to say this too, real fast. So I when I was working with the t-shirt place I was with, so with it was like an inside joke with me and one of my friends. I would always just whatever team, didn't matter what team it was, I'd be like, they're back. Like this team is back now. They're back. Blah blah blah. They're fit. They're all the way back. Even if they sucked, even if it was like
Hmm.
one
One
good
good
game, I'm like,
game.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know everybody does it now, so I'm not trying to say like I was the first one or anything. I just felt like it was always something I was always just being like, oh, the Cubs are back. This team is back. And he was like, he's like, I should get you a T-shirt with that on there. And I'm like, you know what? I already work for a t-shirt company. I can just create it real fast.
Hmm.
So I did that.
I love
But
it.
and it was just me and him. So it's not like I has really sold it or anything like that. But it was just me and him that got it. But yeah, just they're back, and I always throw that on Twitter, and everybody does it anyways. But yeah, it was just funny, and I was kind of it
Hmm.
was like it reminded me of obvious shirts just because of a simple wording or whatever on the shirt. But no, it's such a cool model, so it's yeah,
Yeah.
definitely keep being authentic.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. Authenticity is everything. Like literally, the brand is just my personality. I think that's why it works, and people that follow and know the brand, like they know that. And I think when you are authentic and you're true and it's like if you're authentic, you're going to be consistent because you're just being you. And that's like, I think that's been like the biggest pillar. That's been like the foundation of our success is it's just me. It's just who I am. And my dry humor, uh,
Yeah.
it's not, it's just, it's basic dumb shit.
Yep.
But I stuck with it, and I'm not going to change who I am or adapt or whatever. I'm just going to be myself, and if people like it, great. If they don't like it, great. Like I don't that shit like that doesn't bother me. I don't. It's not for everybody. So I appreciate you like picking up on that and recognizing it. So like social media these days, everybody just wants to be a fucking keyboard warrior and
Oh
just
yeah.
say shit, and maybe it makes them feel better. I don't know, but like yeah, I'm really big on authenticity, and I do tell people like I've I've done I don't know if it's not consulting, but I've had people like reach out and pick my brain because they like my presence on social and what my psychology is behind my marketing. And it's like what I tell them is what you just described. I'm like, find something that's yours and just make it yours. Like, an example of mine is the A plus. Like if I see something that somebody says
Oh
something,
yeah.
A plus tweet. Like
Yep.
that's kind of like make those yours. Or and I don't care if I'm probably not the first person to say A plus tweet. I don't know. I don't know anybody else that does it, but like even if there was somebody else that did it, like who cares? Make it yours. You can still be hyper local on the vast ocean that's the internet. So like the Cubs are back. Like keep doing that and keep making other phrases yours and keep rocking it and going with it, and people will start to reference that and pick up on it, and then they'll start using it, and then it just grows. And people, you don't need credit. Like you don't have to be the guy that's like, I said it first. Like people will know if you do it and you're consistent, authentic, people will know. So like that, what you just described is like a strategy that I use. And I think other successful people on Twitter kind of, they do that too. They make something theirs and they keep pounding it into the ground until people are like, all right, that we get it. But that's what works.
Yeah, the shirts remind me of like tweets, just like simple, I think you said that or so
Yep.
said in that video too on the site.
Keep up the great work.
And when I am in Chicago, I will definitely come into the store and
Yeah, hit me up.
I definitely, yeah, that's definitely what will happen. So yeah, it's really cool to chat. Thanks again for your time telling the story. I'm sure you've told it many times, but it's a cool story. So I'm
Yeah,
sure.
thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it, and I'm a huge fan and champion for guys like you that are creating something, following your passion, your hobby, your interest. Just keep it up. Like I would want to help out in any way that I can because I believe when what all you guys are doing.